Okay, let's get right into it. What's the one thing that can give every GCSE PE student nightmares? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. That massive 9-mark question at the end of the paper. Well, today, we're going to pull it apart piece by piece and show you exactly how to conquer it by getting a grip on something called Assessment Objective 3.
So, be honest. Does your brain just kind of freeze up when you turn the page and see that 9 marker? If it does, trust me, you are not alone. It's designed to be the toughest part of the exam, right? It's what separates the good answers from the really great ones. But here's the secret. It's also your biggest opportunity. This is where you can scoop up a ton of marks if you just know the game plan.
I like to think of it like climbing a mountain. You know, your AO1 and AO2 questions, they're like the steady trek that gets you most of the way up. But that final, steep climb to the very top, the bit that gives you the amazing view, that's AO3. It's what gets you to the summit and really locks in those top grades. And the good news is, we're going to make that climb together.
So, here's our game plan for today. First up, we're going to figure out what on earth AO3 actually is. Then, we'll decode the command words the examiners love to use. We'll see how all the AOs work together, and then we'll dive right into mastering that 9-marker. By the end, you'll have a winning strategy ready to go.
All right, first section. What is AO3? The foundation of top marks. Let's start right at the beginning. What skill are the examiners actually looking for when they talk about AO3?
Okay, so your whole GCSE PE course is basically built around 3 key skills. Think of them as levels in a game. Level 1 is AO1. That's just knowing your stuff, like facts and definitions. Level 2 is AO2. That's taking what you know and applying it to a sport. But level 3, the boss level, that's AO3. This is where you have to analyze and evaluate.
So here's the official sounding definition, but what does it really mean? It means you're not just spitting out facts or giving an example. You've got to break things down, weigh up what's important, and then come to a really solid, justified conclusion. Basically, they want you to stop thinking like a student and start thinking like a sports scientist or an elite coach.
Right, next up, decoding command words, the keys to unlocking the question. So how do you even know when you're supposed to be using this AO3 skill? Well, the examiners give you these little clues. They're called command words. And honestly, they're like the keys that unlock exactly what you need to do to get the marks.
First up, we've got analyze. When you see this word, think like a mechanic looking at an engine. Your job is to take something apart, look at all the individual pieces, and explain how they all fit together and what they do.
So, take this question, for example. It asks you to analyze a cartwheel. See, you're not just saying, hey, that's a cartwheel. You're being asked to break it down into its biomechanical bits and pieces. You talk about the frontal plane, the sagittal axis, and explain the part each one plays in making the movement happen.
Okay, next command word, discuss. This is your signal to basically have a debate with yourself on the page. You've got to look at all sides of the story. You need to talk about the good points and the bad points, the pros and the cons, the strengths and the weaknesses, a really balanced view. So, look at this example. It asks you to discuss if the vertical jump test is good for a footballer. So on one hand, you'd say, yeah, it's great. It tests explosive power, which a player definitely needs for jumping and heading the ball. But then on the other hand, you've got to say, well, maybe it's not perfect, because a footballer also needs amazing aerobic endurance, and this test doesn't measure that at all. See? You're showing both sides of the coin.
And now for the big one, the one you'll see on pretty much every 9-marker, evaluate. This command word is asking you to do everything we've just talked about. You have to analyze, you have to discuss the pros and cons, but then there's a crucial final step. You have to be the judge. You need to weigh up all the evidence you've presented and deliver a final verdict, a clear conclusion.
Okay, new section. How AOs work together. Building a high-scoring answer. Now this is super important. In those bigger questions, these skills aren't separate things. Think of them like ingredients in a cake. You need all of them, the AO1, the AO2, and the AO3, layered together to create a really brilliant answer that's going to get top marks.
Okay, check this out. This is a perfect example of how it works in a 3-mark answer. So the first bit, an increased resting stroke volume. That's pure AO1. You're just stating a fact you've learned. Boom, 1 mark. Then the next bit, more blood leaves the heart. You're applying that knowledge to a long-distance runner. That's your AO2. Boom, 2nd mark. And then the killer final part, so they can work aerobically for longer. You're evaluating the actual impact on their performance. That's your AO3, 3rd mark. See how it's like a chain? Each link connects to the next. That's the secret sauce.
All right, let's do this.
Mastering the 9-marker, the ultimate challenge. This is the main event. How do we take everything we've just learned and use it to absolutely smash that 9-mark question?
9 marks. I mean, that is a huge chunk of your final grade, isn't it? And that's exactly why it can feel so scary. But what if I told you it's actually really, really predictable? Once you know the formula, it's not scary at all.
And here it is. This is the absolute golden key. Every single 9-mark question is secretly just 3 smaller questions in disguise. You get 3 marks for your knowledge, your AO1. You get 3 marks for applying it, your AO2. And you get 3 marks for evaluating it, your AO3. It is a perfect 3-3-3 split every single time. And once you realize that, the question stops being this big, scary monster and just becomes a checklist.
Now, because of this 3-3-3 structure, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot just jump in and start writing. You have to plan. It doesn't have to take ages. Just give yourself, say, 30 seconds. First, highlight that command word. Then, underline the key topics in the question. And finally, just scribble down a couple of quick points for your AO1, your AO2, and your AO3. That tiny bit of planning will give your whole answer an amazing structure.
So when you actually start writing, you've basically got 2 ways to attack it. The first way is what I call the block method. You write 1 paragraph with all your AO1 knowledge points, then a second paragraph with all your AO2 application points, and a final one for your AO3 evaluation. The other way is the integrated method. Here, you write 3 paragraphs, but each paragraph has a little bit of AO1, AO2, and AO3 in it. Honestly, neither one is better. It's totally up to you. Just pick the one that makes the most sense in your head.
Okay, let's wrap this up. Your winning strategy, key takeaways for success. We've gone through a lot, so let's boil it all down to the absolute must-knows, the stuff you need to remember when you're in that exam hall and the pressure is on.
All right, here are your top tips for top marks. Number 1, know your command words. They are your instructions. For AO1, use the proper technical terms. Don't be vague. For AO2, your sporting examples have to be specific and actually relevant to the point you're making. For AO3, use those lovely linking phrases. This means that, as a result, therefore. They literally build your argument for you. And for the 9-marker, and I can't say this enough, you have to end with a strong, well-reasoned conclusion. No conclusion, no top marks. Simple as that.
So you see, that 9-mark question, it's not some big, scary monster hiding at the end of the paper. It's just a puzzle. And like any good puzzle, it has a set of rules. And now you know the rules. So the only question left is, are you ready to go out there and get those marks?